Good afternoon. I'm Leon Davis. It is Saturday, March the 30th, 2 p.m. Central Time. 2 p.m. Central Time. And I want to thank you very much for joining me for my podcast, Altitude Adjustment. This week, I want to talk a little bit about implementing the why. Implementing the why, I think, is the most important question to ask because it adds context to all the other questions. It defines why we do the things that we do. It adds purpose to life and how we participate in it and how we see it. We'll talk about that coming up now. Welcome to Altitude Adjustment. So, one of the things I like, one of my favorite cereals, I eat cereal, and one of my favorite cereals is Frosted Flakes, or was Frosted Flakes. And Frosted Flakes, I would slice up some bananas, I just pour some milk on it, and I was done. I didn't have to do anything else to it. It was quick, it was easy, and it was enjoyable. And I want to say the health craze came along, and so one of the things about Frosted Flakes is that Frosted Flakes, all Frosted Flakes is corn flakes with sugar on it. And there was a big movement to eliminate the amount of sugar that was on Frosted Flakes. And so I was disappointed. Kellogg's decided to reduce the amount of frosting on the flakes, and just basically became cornflakes with a slight glaze. And it didn't taste the same, and it wasn't the same product. So I thought about, there are a couple of ways that problem could have been resolved. One was the company was inundated, I think, with requests to reduce the amount of sugar, and they responded. And I think another way that could have been handled was if you didn't want the sugar on your Frosted Flakes, you get some corn flakes and add the amount of sugar that you'd like. So that was how we choose to attack a problem and why we choose to attack it that particular way. Working to get the company to change rather than making an adjustment for yourself and having that reflect your values. So I was not able to enjoy my Frosted Flakes in the way that they were because someone else decided to make the company change how they did things. And I bought my Frosted Flakes on a regular basis, and I ate my Frosted Flakes. It was how I chose to support that product. I didn't, when the company decided to, for a while they had two types. They had the low sugar, and then they had the normal. And I guess the low sugar won out. So maybe the process did work, but I felt cheated out of something because it was approached that way, that people wanted to change the company's behavior rather than ask for. And I could be wrong. It was just my understanding that the company was petitioned for having too much sugar in its cereal, and so democracy is that the louder voices tend to get heard. But so understanding with the idea behind the show is why do we do that? Why do we pick the methods that we use to get things done. Now, recently, there was a video of a shooting, and a shooting at a Muslim church. And the video was live streamed. The person, walked through the church and was killing people, and they videotaped the whole thing. Now, the videotape was taken down immediately. Tech companies were either bashed or expected to do the censoring. And so the videos was taken down, and some people got to see it, some people didn't get to see it. I didn't get to see it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that coming up. But we are pushing for companies to be the censor, to be the arbiter of what information we get, what information we don't get, how we get that information. And my question then is, why do we do it that way? Because I think it does not benefit us in the long run. And here's why I say this. I did not get to watch the video of the shooting. I know it was out there, but it was taken down. In our society, there are events that occur and with the advent of cell phone in your pocket, or a camera in your pocket, video camera basically in your pocket, there is tons of video out there that are about everyday life and about the difficulties or some of the challenges that we face just in everyday life. People attacking people in buses or trains and things of that nature. And people are pushing companies to do the moderating for us, moderating political content. And that's problematic in that, so it takes away the responsibility of the individual to look and discern information and what that information provides, how it can be useful. So a small group of people then are in control of the information that you get and how that information is shared. The Vietnam War ended because of people saw the horrific pictures. They saw the videos. They saw what war looks like. And it brought a deeper sense of understanding about what was happening. And people realized that was not the place we should have been. Now, I understand that there are people who glorify death or glorify shootings and killings. And so the concern in some cases may be that if we allow that kind of content, that we're encouraging that kind of behavior. And I asked the question, have we had less shootings, less mass shootings because we avoid showing that content in our society? We have law enforcement agencies, and their job is to go through videos like that and find ways to help mitigate the problem in the future, to find out, what is the best way to handle that in the future. It helps us design better buildings to avoid those kinds of situations. But our law enforcement agencies, we have numbers of them, and I don't know how much time they spend, combing those videos for that kind of information. And the assumption is, if we just leave it up to the police department, or if we leave it up to the legal authorities, that they will come up with the best conclusion. And the first thing I say is that the more eyes that we have on something, the more likely we are to spot fine details, to come up with better ways to address issues, because we have more brain power associated with it. So if more people are able to see the video, it brings into context some of the difficulties that we face in our society, but it gives us an opportunity. Who knows how many people may decide to go into law enforcement because they see this tragedy, and it sparks in them a desire to be a force for good, a solution. Videos like this give us context to statistics. So if I said, 3,000 people died in Afghanistan, or 3,000 soldiers died in Afghanistan, that's visceral, or visually, or in your mind, you know that 3,000 people is a lot of people, and you know that they died. But if I show you how they died, and I'm not just talking about the emotional aspect of it, there is going to be that emotional reaction, but there's also going to be a visualization of understanding the horrors of what are happening, what people are experiencing on a real life level. It adds depth to your understanding of 3,000 people dying in war. It adds an understanding of what people are experiencing when we, go into Afghanistan, when we go into Iran, thinking that we're just going to run in there and the Iraqis are going to lay down their weapons and accept defeat from us. That people will fight to protect themselves, and gives us pause to understand that it's not a simple thing to do, to go to war, or to use violence, or to use guns or weapons, or things of that nature. Use force always in trying to resolve issues. And it may, if I have noticed that there is a scrubbing of videos where people are seen in tragic events, where people are seen, after an accident, where there may be serious injuries. It's not there to cause fear. It is there to cause, if you see the results of traveling 80 or 90 miles an hour and striking a building, it gives you context the next time you think of joyriding and traveling 80, 90 miles an hour, and that there's not going to be any real consequences associated with that. And if we react viscerally, if we react and we say, we're going to scrub all of that, we're going to scrub all of the horrors and all of the mangled, the mangled bodies, and we're going to scrub the most difficult aspects of life from us, then how do we expect to be able to add context, add understanding to what the consequences of are behaving in a certain way? We have in our society right now people not willing to listen to each other about gun violence and the difficulty of that, and the I don't want to try to be too graphic, but if we just discuss things in pure numbers, we don't see the human aspect of it. It leaves a lasting impression. How many of us have experienced witnessing someone whose body has been pierced by bullets, and yet we have to make a decision on how we approach guns in our society without any real context to what that entails. We have to go on sheer raw numbers, and I think we have to see some of the human cost. We have to see life as it really is. And so if we continue to scrub all of the real life from what we see and what we deal with on a daily basis, how effective are we going to be at assessing dangerous situations or situations where it requires a level of recognition or understanding of the impact that those actions are having? So we have a discussion about guns, and I'm just picking guns because I think there is a real useful aspect of the discussion that includes understanding how gun violence impacts real people in real ways. And as long as we don't see the horrors of it, and I don't want to just make it the horrors, when we don't have the full context in which it affects our society, how people deal with that afterwards. Most of us have experienced deep loss in some cases, but is the deep loss different when we know that it could have been prevented? If we know that there were things that we could have done to avoided situations, but if we don't use the full context of things, if we don't if we've scrubbed everything so that we only get the sanitized version, then when we go to make decisions, we're going to make those decisions based on the sanitized version and never equate the full weight of what the decision is that we're trying to make. And so I'm not necessarily advocating for show anything and everything. I'm saying let's not scrub everything from our society so that we do have some context, so that we do have something more than just statistics to make decisions on. Statistics does not give us all of the pain, all of the challenges that we face that need to be a part of that discussion. But by having something else to help fill out and round out the discussion, it gives us a better opportunity of understanding the urgency or the necessariness of the weight of our decisions. As I mentioned, we have law enforcement, and law enforcement can only give so much time to so many different things. We only have so many officers, and while there are thousands of them, their time is spent doing other things. We have an opportunity that we can use additional resources, people who want to get in law enforcement, who have time to parse these videos, to look for things that can be useful in the future, or help solve a case. Those things are available to us unless we continue to scrub all of the life from what we see and hear. I can understand. We've had some issues with art, what constitutes art, and so recently, Kathy Griffin was attacked. I mean, and her whole life changed because of she presented a fake severed head. And so the idea was not just, so we understand that she was telling a joke. We understand, some people understand that she was probably went out further than a lot of people would have liked. But was that, we've scrubbed the concept of blood and dismemberment from our society to the point of it did not matter the context. It did not matter her history as a comedian. Nothing mattered except for the fact that what she did was not scrubbed. If someone had just said she had a plastic or a rubber severed head, there more than likely would not have been that big of an issue. If we didn't scrub all of the life happening from our society when she showed that, we could have dealt more with, was it appropriate? What was being said? What was she communicating? Was her frustration real? Was her frustration? We could have gotten deeper, but rather than get deeper, we scrub everything. We take out anything that may be harsh or that may be difficult to deal with. And so I say, if we keep scrubbing the difficulty out of our lives, when we'll be able to deal with difficulty, when we'll be able to recognize that life isn't clean and pretty and goes really well and nothing bad happens and everybody is a wonderful person. People who want to do mass shootings. So let me go back and attack some of the whys, or one of the whys. One of the things that has been attributed to how we cover mass shootings is we don't want to give them recognition, which is what they want. So the question to me becomes, why is recognition, why is celebrity such a priority that people would be willing to mass murder to become a celebrity? What does celebrity bring us in our society? Why does celebrity hold such a prominent place in our society? Period. I think that answering that question might give us depth into understanding how to create a better society that where we can face the reality of life and present ourselves with material or the tools that we need to create a better, more perfect society without necessarily the fear and angst that we may further encourage behavior that we want to avoid. So asking the questions why do we do what we do, can help us better add, as I like to say, depth, context to what we do and how we do it. I want to thank you very much for taking the time to join me this afternoon. Hopefully, I at least sparked an opportunity for you to ask some questions why. Most people that know me know probably the first thing I do is ask why, and why do you think that? Why do you say that? And I've gotten into quite a lot of difficulty in causing people to look at me in a less than favorable manner because I always ask why. I want to know what is your motivation? What is your reason for thinking that or believing that? Beyond just cold facts, I want to understand why you think we should do this, or why do you believe those things, so to help me better understand you and the way you behave. Hopefully I've inspired someone to at least start asking more questions about why, and adding greater purpose to how we approach things in our society. So that'll wrap things up for this week. The podcast is streamed live each week right here on YouTube, because you may be listening to this on one of the podcast sites that I've uploaded to. You are also encouraged to participate, ask any questions, or include your thoughts in the podcast. I'd like to do it live so that you have a chance to participate and ask me questions while I'm talking. To become a participant and be on the show, just add altitude adjustment as a contact. You can do it via Skype at thelionsden.stl@gmail.com, on Google, also at thelionsden.stl@gmail.com. Make sure you take the opportunity to friend me on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and YouTube. You either Leon Davis Jr. or the Lions Den STL. Be sure to look for this and other episodes where you listen to podcasts. And remember that your likes and shares are internet gold. So like and share this podcast where you find it. Always be cool, be calm, and above all, be careful. Look out for the other guy, because they may not be looking out for you.